Welcome to the Savvy Radio Show with your host, Savvy Landlord. Up next is the best deal ever on Fridays. Check out all episodes on SavvyRadioShow.com.
All right, Savvy investors, today is Fabulous Friday, and I'm excited to be back in the saddle. I'm trying to get focused, get back to the podcast, so don't bail on me. Stay with me. Today is Friday. We're talking about a best deal. Anyway, this is a current deal I just closed about a couple of weeks ago. And it's kind of got twists and turns in there. So I don't know exactly if this is a best deal, but it's a deal to consider, just so you know, and that deals come from wherever. Remember what I said a while back, that you got to think of deals. People always say, I can't find deals. Where are deals? Or how do I make money, or opportunities? And opportunities are everywhere. You're just not trained to see them. So you've got to learn to train your eyes, to your ears to hear deals that are on the ground. So this is an interesting deal. A wholesaler, relatively new guy. I'm not sure how many deals he's done. He seemed real confident. And I'd run into him a couple of places, I think at the real estate club meeting. And he asked me if I buy on a certain side of town. It's called the East Side. And I said, yeah, I buy on the East Side. I buy pretty much anywhere Northwest, Midwest City. That's kind of my favorite. But, I have some houses on the East Side. He's like, man, I can't really find comps that are sustainable. And, I can't find any buyers. Now, just to give you a heads up, East Side is kind of the rough part of town. Homes go for little money as $5,000, and they're just ghetto, just trash for cash, cash for trash, and it's just kind of a rough side of town, and you got to have a special management to handle it. Anyway, I don't mind the East Side. I think it's low income. Majority of the neighborhoods that I buy in, and usually low income is high return, and I call them cash cows. But there is some management intensive, so it's not for the weak at heart. So he couldn't find someone, and he threw a deal at me. He's like, it's this address, and I kind of blew it off. It's in a really rough area where I have a house 2 streets over that's been shot up just recently, and the lady didn't pay her rent, and I'm evicting her, and she says she has to move because she's been shot at. Well, you've been shot at because you hang around with the wrong people. It's not because of the neighborhood. The people just don't pick houses just to shoot at random houses, but I don't want to get into educating tenants. So he threw the address. A couple of weeks later, I ran into him, kind of just blew him off. Not him personally. I just wasn't on the East Side, and he offered it at $12,000. And I'm like, well, I piqued my interest, and I just wasn't motivated. He said it needed extensive work, and I was like, no way. And so I was just not in the mood. For some reason, I just kind of cleared up some financing at my bank, which is one of my favorite banks that allows me to pull out equity at the closing if I find a deal 75% LTV. So I was like, well, I just finished my last project. I said I wouldn't rehab for a while. And so I took he pursued me again and said, hey, man, you want to take a look at this? And $12,000. So I was like, you can't go wrong with a $12,000 house. How much work does it need? $20,000. So I went over there and met him, and I was like, this thing is a disaster. It was just murder. If you watch my Facebook page, there's tons of photos on there. We had to bring it to the studs. We had the new roof, and it was just, well, anyway, I know that already. So I went and looked at it. It was a disaster. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Sorry. I'm a little rusty here. So I was like, man, I ran the numbers with him, and blah, 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 blah. It needs a new roof. Basically needs new everything, new drywall, new ceiling, new plumbing. It's a shell, but it's a 3-bedroom. I'm getting it, he's offering 12. I was like, there's no way. He's like, what would you give? I ran the numbers. I'm like, man, 6,000. That's my number. And he came back with 8,000. So you got to keep in mind, we started at a 12 and I offered 50%. It's almost like a lowball, but I really wasn't interested in the property because it's extensive. It's going to take 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, and it needs 25,000. And I was like, I really don't want to be in on, but I'm down with Section 8, 750, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, washer and dryer hookups, nice yard, brand new windows. I can knock this deal out. So I offered him 6. He came back and, he didn't believe my numbers, and I wrapped them back. I typed in my numbers. I texted him, and he said we had a deal. I was like, all right, not rookie, but I was like, rookie wholesaler. I just like to do deals with people that are new in the game, and I don't know if this is his first deal. And I was patient with him, and he was patient with me, and it was a cash deal, $6,000, no big deal, right? I can pretty much get that funding anywhere. So we're going down the road, and he's getting title work, and I come to find out that this wholesaler is pretty savvy, smooth. The person, I don't know how he got this deal, but the person that he's buying the property from had no transportation, and so he had to pick this guy up, and then there was a gang of liens on the property, like at least a couple thousand liens, and I'm like, so what is this? I'm like, bro, what are you making on this deal? He says, I got it under contract for $4,000 with, and after I committed to the number, and he said that he has to pick the guy up, and he has all these liens. So this guy netted about $2,000. So everything's going down roll. I'm like, hey, I said, where are we closing at? He mentioned this title company. I don't want to say their name. And I said, that's cool. I'm down. You want to build a relationship with this title company. I prefer this title company, but this is a small deal, $6,000 cash, no big deal. So about a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, he finally gets the title work done, and he sends me this HUD, and it's outrageous cost. This is a $6,000 deal, and the closing costs were like $1,500. $1,500 the closing cost. My normal closing cost maybe $300. Now let me subtract. So actually, it was $1,000 was their closing cost. Let me be correct, because I pulled a little whammy here in a minute. So I was like, bro, you got to call this title company and let them know that you are a real estate investor wholesaler and you're bringing tons of deals. And we're going back and forth. Like these these prices are outrageous. And I'm not trying to be cheap on a couple $100. We're talking hundreds of dollars. And so he's a rookie wholesaler, and he went back and went to bat for me. And he said, hey, this investor's closed 100 something deals. And they were fighting back and forth. And so I paused right there. I said, bro, she's taking me to the bank. And then this is not right. And this is dumb. But in the back of my mind, I was like, bro, this is a $6,000 deal. I don't want to lose this deal. I can rehab this thing. I can make $750. So I called my normal title company, Superstar, and I called her, and I was like, and I walked these fees. Actually, I emailed her my HUD, and I was like, settlement station, cash disclosure statement is the new name for HUD, just so you know. Don't call it HUD no more. So I sent it to her, and she's like, Steven, look, you closed here, it would be $300 cheaper. Now, I agreed to pay for the abstract, so that's 600 something bucks. So I talked to the wholesaler, Tyler, and I said, bro, go back to her. So she's willing to take off $150. And they were just rude about it, mean about it, and like borderline disrespectful about it. And I was like, I can't believe. And you're a rookie wholesaler. You got 4 deals in the pipeline at that title company, and you got a real estate investor that I've actually closed there just recently, and they were just jacking the fees up. And I was like, well, the reason why I was just going to drop $6,000 cash real fast to save on closing costs, and I was going to refinance the house later. So I was like, fine. So listen, I'm going to be a jerk about this deal. No offense to you, Tyler. And he was cool, man. He's going to be a superstar wholesaler, no doubt, because he was flexible. He wasn't rigid, and he was like, okay. So he went to bat for me, went back and forth. And so I put the no whammy on him. I said, let's turn this deal into a finance deal. My bank, as soon as I negotiated those deals, I called my bank to send banking instructions. I called my bank. I ordered an appraisal. The appraisal came back at $35,000. Boom. 75% of $35,000 is $25,000 cash. No money down deal. Good news. So let's pause there on this title, because I'm juiced up about this title deal. So I was pissed that they were going to overcharge me on title fees. So I turned it into from a cash deal. So I was like, to a finance deal. Well, this is more paperwork for the closer, and it changes things up. They charged me since I switched it from a cash to a finance deal. I was like, are you serious? So this title company calls me up, gets pissed off at me, and says, well, we don't do that. We normally charge $300 to do that, but I'm only going to charge you $75. Charge me? How many times investors out there that you've on a contract that it was cash and then you were waiting on an appraisal and appraisal came through and you switched that cash deal to a finance transaction, and it was no big deal. The bank sent banking instructions and boom, it's just basically reprint the HUD and add a few things. So I was just pissed, and I was like, and they're just rude to me, like straight up, like, okay. So I just bowed down and I said that was outrageous, disrespectful. So I paid the $75. No big deal. I closed the deal. Now it was a sweet deal because I got it appraised for $35. Okay, which is still under appraisal. I think the house is going to be worth $45, but we're on the east side and it's kind of, there's kind of drama in the neighborhood. So I'll deal with it. But $35,000 appraisal, I get 75% LTV. I call my bank. They fund me $25,000, wire the money. I go to closing, get raped on the closing costs, no big deal. I walk away with a $17,000 check to do the rehab. So man, it sounds good. A no money down deal. Everything's rolling. I'm crushing it. The house is full of stuff. It was a hoarder. There's like 5 couches in there. I'm going town, tearing it up. And then the first thing I do is what you should do, and every time you do a construction, is get a roof. And so I had to put a roof on, and I get raped. Sorry, I don't mean to say raped. I'm sorry, folks, but I get smashed on the roof. The roof, I get a bill for the roof. This is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath crib. Okay, $6,500. Redeck, tear off, shake roof, all this drama, and I'm like, this is a 17-square roof. So now I'm in a debate with the roofer over the price, and then it just slaps me in the face. Here I go again, buying this $6,000 property, and the roof alone cost me $6,500. And this is my first week in this deal, and I'm already choked out. $6,500. I'm really thinking because I'm just juiced. Anyway, so long story short, I'm down doing the deal, and here's a couple of key points I noticed. This wholesaler, rookie, flexible, stud, doing his thing, picked up the seller, drove him to the deal, and you could tell the seller got inherited the house and was just so excited to get some check. And then I thought that was cool. So when we closed, I walked him across the street, the wholesaler, and introduced him to my title company. Hopefully he'll bring a lot of business there. And, I don't want to say any names or do any kind of weird disrespect, but you never know who you're doing business with, and you should always respect people no matter what. Now, I probably will close at that place again. Is it my preferred location? No. Will I close at other places? For sure. But ultimately, what you should learn from this situation is build a relationship with your title company, build a relationship with your wholesaler, and for sure find a roofer that the price before you get into the deal. So that's it for now. I don't know if it's the best deal. It sounds like a best deal. So far, it's a no money down deal, but it looks like I'm going to be tapping into my budget. My goal is to rehab the whole house for $25,000, so that I have no money in it. And AC so far is $5,000. The roof so far is $6,500. I think my windows, 10 new windows, roughly came out to $2,200, and I'm burning up all kinds of labor. So 6 weeks, $6,000 worth of labor. So 6 or more. Well, it's going to be way more than that. I got 3 guys on the job site. So I don't know if it's a best deal, but it is a deal. It's a best deal if I got no money in the game. As soon as it's done, hopefully in a month from now, it will just be a cash machine. So my loan payment, what's $25,000, maybe taxes, insurance, all that jazz, $300 a month, maybe $325. I'm gonna cash flow $350, $400. Let's just say $300 for the rest of my life for 15 years is paid off. That's what you do. You go out there and buy assets. Not every deal is a lemonade. You got to find a lot of lemons and you got to take a lot of risks. But hey, I'll take 10 of those one day, and 10 of those times 3 is 3,000. Now, on the east side, you got to factor in about 10 to 15, I would say 15 to 20% of drama, but it's worth it. You can provide for your family. Not only that you can provide for your family, but you could take care of someone else, give more. So that's it. I'm the Savvy Landlord. I know it wasn't the best deal. It was a long rant. I'm getting back up on the Savvy podcast, but I'm excited that you were willing to get this far and listen to this. By now, you probably should have shut this deal off. But whatever you do, all you do, think about go out and buy assets.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.